All right. Hey, everybody, welcome. You have found 8+ critical things we've got to know about AI. So please open up your chats because we're going to make this interactive. And I'm going to start with the question, besides your favorite Thanksgiving dish, how many times have you logged in to ChatGPT or any other AI tool? So logged in on purpose, not background that like Zoom sent you notes this month. What's your number? So I'm going to start off. My number is probably about 5. And to be clear, I was making this webinar during that time. And there we go. Oh, look at that. Hourly utter. Cool. This is good. All right. Well, listen, we're going to get started because there's so much crazy stuff to cover. Aaron, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself first, and then I'm going to go to the slide where people see where you're from. Okay. Hit it.
Absolutely. So Aaron Sandine, I am the VP of Technical Services for a company called Crayon. We're based out of Oslo, Norway, but headquartered in Dallas, Texas. So a little bit on my background, I've worked for some amazing companies. I've worked for Microsoft, Intel, United Health Group. I was the CIO for the state of Arizona for 6 years, working for Governor Brewer. So that's a little bit about me. So lots of tech, lots of cloud, lots of AI, lots of security.
Aaron is currently at the Microsoft office. He's the guy who speaks at the events and teaches the big tech companies how to do stuff. So be clear, he's the expert, all right? I'm the novice, I'm LB. If you haven't joined us before, my company, Factor 8, does rep and manager sales training. We work with sales leaders, we work with enablement leaders, and I am a late adopter in technology. And so I'm in here learning with you, and I'm going to ask the dumb questions, but I was shocked by some of the things I found, and my entire team is watching this webinar, and we're having a meeting afterwards to discuss this. I hope you do the same thing. So Aaron added this slide, which cracks me up. Tell people what this is.
So this is a tool called Midjourney. And so I took a picture of Lauren from her profile. And so you can use different prompts to have it drive different pictures. And so amazing tool, super powerful. When I like to present, I like to use imagery. I like to tell stories. And so to me, it's just another tool in the toolbox to make it super powerful.
Be clear, I've circled the one I like the best. I think I look like, is that not Kate Hudson? Thank you.
Yep,
Loving you.
absolutely.
So that's Aaron's level of expertise, right? He can produce pictures that make me feel like a rock star. This is my level of expertise. I'm a free ChatGPT user. I've gone nowhere further than that, but I pasted in Aaron's profile into ChatGPT and said, write me a funny joke. And then I decided, write me a funny limerick. And I did a few prompts from there. So apparently, Aaron, you're known for your hashtags. ChatGPT would hashtag like you to stop.
I love it.
If you haven't been to a sales shop before, we do these every single month. They're 30 minutes. They are packed with tips and techniques. We think theory sucks. Don't worry about it. You're not going to get it. You can bring your entire team. We do rep level topics, manager level topics, and enablement level topics. Factor8.com/shots. You can sign all the way up through, I think, February right now, thanks to Amy Wunderlich. And a special welcome to my very best friends. This is our Sales Shot leaderboard. You come every single month. We see you. We appreciate you. And we want your feedback. Let us know what you want to see next year. Now, before I dive into more topics, I have to tell you in all seriousness, what we're doing today and what we do every month in a webinar is about raising awareness. But the training snob in me has to tell you, this isn't training. All right? Webinars and videos are cool for a little information, but what this chart's telling you is that y'all are going to forget 90% of what we say here a week from now. When you have really good interactive training and coaching, it bumps up, however. Those are the stars. Okay, so that means as leaders, you got to go talk about this with your team. You got to train your team. You got to coach your team. This doesn't check the box by itself. Sorry to say that. Our goal is that you're going to be talking about AI with more confidence and starting that conversation with your teams 25 minutes from now. All right, here's what we know about AI. Quick guess, warm up your chat fingers. I'm looking for a percentage number. What percent of the US is using AI right now? Dun, dun, dun. Aaron, I would ask you, but I know you looked this up. So we're just going to get the right answer. 65, 5, 80, 100, 45, $1. 60%. Heather, hi, honey, 75%. Laura says 20. The answer is 45. So not a lot. I did a LinkedIn poll and I said, how many folks are using it? And the vast majority are not using it at all. But what percent, not time for the next chat, pause. You got to be fast around here. What percent of LinkedIn users, Aaron, you don't know this answer, are using it about twice a week? Twice a week they log in to a ChatGPT or other tool. What do you think the answer is? Oh, you typed it in. You can say it. You're on live.
I said 65. Yeah.
65. All right. You'd be surprised maybe to learn, and these numbers are lower from people, about
Wow.
30. Yeah. Yeah. So we had the biggest number aren't using it all, right? And then this, like about twice a week was the biggest. And then, 8 twice a day was the next one after that. What percent use it? None at all. Well, I already told you that answer, about 28%. Okay. By the way, the country that uses ChatGPT the most, Aaron, what's that answer?
Man, I forgot. We were just talking about this.
It's India, 73%. Yep. So Aaron also shared that the vast majority, of course, are millennials and Gen Zs. And of course, the people who aren't using it, 75% are Gen Xers and boomers, us old farts, not using it. Until I met Aaron a month and a half ago, I wasn't using it either. I was kind of rolling my eyes at all the hype out there. And man, I've learned a lot. And here's the number one thing I've learned. Your people are using it. All right. Half of the US is using it. Somebody on your team is in ChatGPT or some other tool right now. And that means there are some safety concerns, and we're going to get you there so you know what to watch. And we're also going to show you 10 easy ways to start using it. And the first thing you need to know is that there are options. I didn't know this. Aaron, talk us through a little bit some of these differences.
Yeah. There's a couple different tools out there. There's different platforms, different products, right? So ChatGPT, Bing Chat, Bard, Claude, right? So these are some of the main ones for generative AI tools, right? And so all of these are really focused on chatting with, talking with, having a conversation, right? And even just recently, and this stuff is changing so fast. Just last week, ChatGPT announced from OpenAI that they actually updated their data source to April of this year, right? And so that's a big thing that people always talk about.
That is a big deal.
Yeah, where's the data come from? Is it relevant? Is it current? Is it new? Can you get the sources for this information, right? What's it used for? What's it primarily used for? Who's kind of behind it from a technology partner perspective? So there's a lot in this chart of really figuring out, do I use it personally? Am I using it as an enterprise solution? Am I partnered with it? Is it open source so that I can incorporate it into a solution I have? So that's kind of what the purpose of this is here.
But all of these are free. Right?
They have different offers. Yes. So they have free offers, but they also have premium offers, right? So you can start out with the free offer, and you can start to add and enhance and do other things with them as well.
Which is sort of that next step. And we'll get to what those steps are. But here are some other neat tools. Aaron told you about Midjourney, but these are some of his other favorites. So the challenge, folks, here is pick 2 things here. Pick one from the top list and pick one from the bottom list, and set yourself a goal to just go get hands-on, right? By the end of the week, what could you go and try? Good? All right. I love this. I get different answers, right? I had each one of these do a different limerick about you, by the way. And I picked my favorite one. So thank you for pushing me to get hands-on with different things. All right. We're going to get straight to safety. Now, Aaron, let me ask you while we're looking at this, is one of these tools, one of these free ones on top, is one considered safer than another?
It depends on what you say is safe, right? And I think you and I talked about that quite a bit, right? I think they kind of all have their different basis of how they're doing things. I think ChatGPT is definitely the leader out in the space today, right?
Okay.
Bard is a close second. Bing Chat is actually built on the ChatGPT OpenAI. The Claude and Anthropic is kind of the biggest competitor to them, right? But they have different kind of pros and cons and different ways of what you call safe.
And that's the thing. One of the things I put in that chart was, do they cite sources?
Yep.
And there's legislation happening out here a lot. In fact, these are on this. We're talking about the list of things not to paste here, folks. Okay, because as soon as you put it in, it's public domain. I had a friend of mine who's authored a lot of books who had somebody, a rep, try to sell her something by literally sending a quote from her own book. Did they say it was from her? No. They passed it off as their own. She just happened to literally be the author of that quote. But guess what? It was in AI, and therefore it's free use. So here are the top list of things to never put into Chat GPT. Leaders, this is the conversation you got to have with your people. Unless your pricing is posted on the web, you don't want to do it, right? Logo's no big deal, but any other confidential data around customers or R&D, finance, code, okay? If anybody in your company thinks it might be intellectual property, don't paste it in. Is that fair?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, does anybody have anything to add? Stick it in chat for me, please, if there's something I've missed on this slide. Now, Aaron, I want you to explain something to me. There's something you can do in Chat GPT that says, don't use this. Does that make it safe?
There's a setting in ChatGPT, especially when you have the premium, the plus edition, right? That says, don't use my data in your history. I think it's a good start, but I think I think we should all be just really cautious, right? I mean, I think we've all seen this. I think where they got a lot of this data, it would, to me, it's something that I wouldn't recommend any organization using that and relying on that solely. I wouldn't recommend even using, the enterprise version of ChatGPT or OpenAI today. If you are seriously concerned about any of your intellectual property, being able to use this in an extremely safe way at an enterprise scale, you really need to start looking at a private enterprise solution, right? And
I didn't even know that existed.
Yep.
Right. So there's free, then there's premium levels, then there's a bunch of plugins.
Yep.
Right. And then you can do enterprise level, private and closed systems. And Aaron will talk about that.
And the plugins, I would definitely shy away from most of the plugins unless you really sit down and understand what they do, how they work, right? Because a lot of those plugins will then get access to additional data sources that you may not understand that they're tying into. So I personally don't use very many of the plugins at all.
Good to know. And I mean, literally, you do this for a living. So you've heard it from the right source. Kat, thank you so much. Good to see you, sweetheart. Really good ad in the chat. You should also know that AI is already integrated into a lot of things, right? I'm going to get an AI summary of this Zoom meeting. So if you are sharing things even in Zoom, like, is that safe, Aaron? Right?
Yeah.
If I'm talking about pricing and it's being recorded in Zoom, is it going to wind up out in the world?
Yeah, so as Catherine just said, I mean, make sure you check your contracts. A lot of these companies are updating their details on this right now. When LB and I were talking, I went out and looked at the Zoom one. They actually explicitly say they're not going to use any of your meeting data as part of their training history, their training data, right? So those are really important things that are going to be part of contracts moving forward. Also, companies like Microsoft and Google have come out and said that any content that you do generate via API, via the GPTs, they will actually protect you from a legal liability perspective. So if it's so I think that's another thing that you got to really start to look at is what protections do you have? What are their data sources? How are they standing by their tools and solutions there? So really important things.
Really important things. Guys, if this is bringing up questions for you, we don't have time to dive into all the details, but I want you to open the Q&A panel, not just the chat. Stick your questions in Q&A. Okay. If we don't get to them all, we'll book something else to get to them. But if it's bringing up something for you now where you want to ask the experts, get it in there. Here's what you can paste. Here's what's safe. Okay. Anything that's already on your website, your testimonials and your case studies, if your product information's on your website and it's not full of the R&D, right? You can do emails and ask it to summarize or create replies for you, as long as the email isn't about the confidential customer data. You're getting it, right? Your pitch, anything like LinkedIn profiles, right? It wrote the limerick for Aaron by me copying and pasting it in there. So these things safe. Think if it's on the website, I'm good. Fair? Yes. Anything to add there?
Yeah, no, I think that's entirely true, right? Think, kind of in technology speak, we think about information architecture, right? We think about how is it classified, right? So anything that's considered public domain, public information, absolutely safe, right? Anything that you would consider private or restricted, right? Those are things that you really got to understand and be really, really cautious of.
So here's another example. I'm in the IP business, right? Intellectual property business. And if you were to dig deep on my website, you'd probably find a video somewhere with some of my IP, right? Somewhere in a sales shot, I have shared some of our IP. I still wouldn't paste it in, okay? I mean, front page of website, not digging deep into a training video somewhere. If it's considered an intellectual property, keep it out because somebody else is going to own it from there on out. All right. So now that we've scared you, what is safe? If you're new, where are some good places to start? We gave you that challenge. Go get hands-on this week, right? Well, summarize an email for me. Write a job description or 90-day plan. I think that's pretty cool. How about this idea of respond to the RFP, right? Write out some goals for me that include these things. I love a brainstorm, and I'll talk about that when we get to our enablement slide and good places to use it. Looking at all your customers and finding some segments, personalizing emails. Now, this is also going to top my list of the garbage that ChatGPT can create. But if you do it right and do it well, it can help save time doing that. I love this one for my team. We have a ton of training surveys. Plug it in. Instead of me spending hours combing through that data, I mean, Amazon uses it, right? AI generated. Here are the top things people are talking about in their reviews. I love this idea of a transcript, right? Doing that, converting to text. I think that's great. Recommending content. Where can my people go learn about blank? And automated content curation and creation. Don't let it write all your blogs for you. But my marketing team has started this, right? I've got some bullet points on blogs I want to write. And Amy will go and do a first draft of it with ChatGPT. And then I go and fix it. And look, we just saved an hour. So not bad, right? Erin, any big ones here that you see a lot of people like you really recommend start here?
This is a great list. I've used every single one of these, right? There's so many different things to do with this. One of the things I will tell you is interact with ChatGPT, have a conversation, ask it to ask you questions, right? Ask me 25 questions that I should answer for a specific RFP. Ask me 10 questions about how to build a better email campaign, right? Mm-hmm. And then have it, once you kind of respond with your answers, then you're personalizing it more so. So you're not getting that generic, BS stuff that's coming back. It's going to improve the quality significantly. The other thing I would add too is, again, as LB says, challenge yourself. Use this stuff all the time. One of the things that LB and I, when we were kind of prepping for this, the phone app, if you're not using the phone app, has some extra very awesome capabilities. One of them is you can talk to it just like you're talking to somebody on a telephone. So you can talk, say something, it's going to come back. This
and
week,
that's good for role plays.
It is. And my wife is from Punjab, right? And so, finding a Punjabi application is hard, right? But you can actually have it role play and say, hey, help me learn Punjabi by going to a restaurant and act as a Punjabi, host, right? And, same thing with sales. Yeah. So you can have that conversation. So same thing with sales, act as a hostile client, right? What questions or issues are they going to have in having that conversation with you?
And I'm going to show you that on an upcoming slide. Even without the phone plug-in, you can text role play, right? Yep. And I've done this before. I'm like, no, you need to be harder on me. No. Try to get off the phone more, right? And it will do that. Answering a couple quick questions here. The asterisk is because analyzing market trends and competition is only good until it's good, right? So what's the most recent date on ChatGPT now, Erin?
April 20th of this year.
Okay, so we're in the right year, or use a different tool that's current. That's why the asterisk. I love what Regina had to say here about RFP. It'll then say, should I respond? Which is great, right? Think of, if you've never used it before, it's like Google, but better. You know how in Google you have to be like, how can I ask it the right question with the first 3 words being the key it's going to go find something on? Yep. It's sort of the opposite in ChatGPT. The longer the question, the better, and then you can argue with it. No. Those are the wrong results. Make it shorter, make it faster, I created this list from ChatGPT, and then I refined it 4 times to actually make it a decent list. All right. Now, here are some places to set as goals that maybe, why don't you try this next year? If you've been using it a while, some of these are going to require a little more safety, a little more research. But these are some of the cool things it does. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time here because most of the webinars on ChatGPT are about hyping the cool shit it does, right? We're about where do you start, how do you do it safely, etc. But grab one from this list and realize it's a place to work toward. Cool? Most of the reason I have them on this list as a goal versus as a start is because there's probably some confidential data involved. Fair? Or it requires plugins, right? So your role playing is on here with the ChatGPT phone plugin.
Yep.
Awesome. So if you're a department head, make sure you're safe and then pick one of these for a goal. All right. So let's say you joined me because you're one of those non-users. Where do we start? Here's what we recommend. Grab a handful of volunteers in your organization, set a goal, decide on a tool. Number 4 is the most important, right? The guardrails. What do we do and not do here? And then you pilot the outputs. Okay, well, we created some email cadences. Did they work? Did they not? Meet regularly, get the feedback, and then just really keep refining, right?
Absolutely.
The other way to go, and Aaron, maybe you can make this better, but what I'd like to do in my company is we're going to carve out 15 minutes. In our regular meetings for the staff, 15 minutes, we're going to talk about what did you do? What did you try? What worked? What didn't work? Because it's learning from each other, the creativity, like just what we saw in this chat that I think is interesting. So we're going to go to a use case roadmap. Aaron's going to talk us through this. While he does that, I'd love for you to chat your number 1 way that you're using an AI tool right now. And maybe we can learn from each other in some creative ways. All right, Aaron, talk to us a little bit about this roadmap. This is what you do with CRAN customers, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. When we start talking to a customer, we're really looking at, what's their use case? Where are they today in their roadmap? If you're a user of Microsoft, which most organizations are, Microsoft is heavily involved in this. They have a new capability that they are releasing with their Office productivity suite called Copilot. And so Copilot's going to be in your Word, it's going to be in your PowerPoint, it's going to be in your email, it's going to be in your Teams meetings, it's going to be throughout all of your different Microsoft capabilities, right? But understanding what it is, how it works, what you can do with it, what it won't do, how much is it going to cost? How do you roll this out? Is your organization ready for it? Do you have the right security guardrails in place? All of that is really kind of part of that awareness, right? Of, how are you going to adopt? How are you going to handle the change? How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to manage it? How are you going to get value out of it, right? And so we really kind of start from the really basics and the foundation to it, but we can go into the more advanced, building custom solutions, helping our customers with that. So yep.
I was just going to say, so if you're just getting started, right,
Yep.
This may be step 1.
Exactly.
You're at awareness. And what we're saying is push yourself to step 2, where you're going to go use some free tools. And we've given you and planted the seeds about the warnings of keeping things safe. And that's when you start to build the framework. How as an organization are we going to do this and think about it? And Aaron's going to give us an offer, guys, at the bottom of the hour, where there's a readiness assessment and you can talk to some expertise if you're worried about your data. And if you're a leader and you're worried a little bit, remember, your team's already out there. People that work for you are pasting shit into ChatGPT right now. It's important you start with the safety. All right, my enablement friends. So this is me, right? I'm a training geek. And my number 1 way I've loved to use it so far is, when you're training new hires and you put them in groups to learn, the problem is that there's no expertise in the group, right? So we may get together and say, okay, brainstorm all the ways that you blah, blah, blah. Well, nobody knows the answers. So instead, we replace the brainstorming with adding ChatGPT. Go ask them the questions and you're bringing new information in. I think that's a pretty cool idea. Customer and competitive insights. Again, watch the date. But if you're teaching folks about the industry, your company, and your competition, it's a no-brainer. Your text-based role plays or on the phone app, the voice-to-voice role plays. It is really powerful. But by the way, even just creating those scenarios. As trainers, it takes a ton of time to write all those scenarios. You can get 10 of them instantly through AI. I really like that. Creating assessments, creating quizzes, creating surveys, summarizing survey data. giving feedback, creating Q&A that your people can use in training. All of those good. And number 10 is my other favorite, right? Summarizing that feedback that we're seeing out there. So this is what my team and I are going to talk about. How do we incorporate that? I'm going to give you an offer to use some AI activities in Factor 8 training at the end if you want to dip your toe in a safe way. So it's really important we talk about the quality concerns now, okay? Garbage in, garbage out. My first few times watching ChatGPT webinars and using it, I was kind of disappointed. I mean, Aaron, when you and I first talked, I was like, what's all this hype about? Because, you know, I asked it to build me an onboarding program. I do a lot of that for clients, and it was garbage, right? So folks, garbage in, garbage out. And we're going to teach you some things to do to check it, but beware, please. Okay. When we put how to do emails, lengthy and fluffy, I could put it on almost every single thing here, right? Could you explain hallucinating, Aaron?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, simple example of this, right, is pick your favorite book, business book or something like that. If you ask one of these tools, you know, do you know this book? Most of the time it's going to come back and say, yeah, I know this book, right? And it'll give you a little short, summary of it. But if you ask it to list the outline or provide details about it, this is where it's going to, because it doesn't necessarily have the book as part of its model. It just knows about the book from other resources and things like that. But it's going to try, right? So it'll actually, based on its knowledge, it's actually going to create an outline that sounds like it could be a legit outline for that book, but it's not, right? So those are the types of things. So this is where we always say that you really have to be a subject matter expert. This isn't replacing that, right? This is just really augmenting, enhancing, making, bringing out your superpowers, right? So be really, really sensitive to that. And I think that's something, when you're managing a team and you've got, people that don't have as much experience, that's one of the things you really got to watch for, you really got to coach for.
So I like to think of it as ChatGPT cures writer's block. If you're stuck, let it start so that you can go back and edit. Yep. But if you were to just say, write me a blank and then use what you get, then you deserve the results you get from that. Here's an example, okay? We teach people to do phone sales. And so I said to ChatGPT, teach me how to make a cold call. This is my expertise, right? I invite you right now to open up chatgpt.com and ask it a question you're an expert on. Now, when I asked for it, right, this is what I got. And I'm going to tell you, this is my grade. Line by line, a couple of these were decent. Most of them, I would say, were generic and fluffy. On the whole, I'd give it about a C-, right? If you were an alien piped down onto Earth and you typed this in, it would be helpful. But if you were in this industry and you paid for this advice, you would want your money back. So Aaron, I did the same for you. What grade do you give this, right? What should I do to prepare my company to use AI? How did they do? How'd ChatGPT free do for you?
Without that, again, it's very similar, right? You just get basic answers without really enhancing it, right? And it's using some of that core knowledge that's out there, but you really have to interact with it. You've got to enhance it. You've got to go through it, right? You're going to get some good basic information, but we always talk about good, better, best, right?
Oh, let me jump to that really quick. I'm going to show you guys, folks, because we're running out of time. If there's a question we haven't answered yet, put it in chat or questions so that we can get back to you. But here's what Aaron's talking about, right? Good.
Yep.
Better. But this is where the magic is. Okay. All the detail.
And the difference between these prompts is amazing, right? And this is lightweight, right? So the better that you describe these prompts, and again, back to have it ask you questions, right? It completely changes the results that you get.
And so that's what we're going to advise here, okay? To fix your input, make it longer, ask me questions, or act as if are things to try. Yep. To fix your outputs, folks, refine. You get to, it's like being able to argue with Google. Nope, that's the wrong one. Show me more like this. Show me more like that, right? I just yell at Alexa, but you get it. Here's my number one advice. You take the answer and insert it into a framework and then coach the delivery. Don't let people use this without the framework and the delivery. Aaron, if people want to learn more, okay, if it's time to really get serious about this, then use the CRAN readiness assessment or contact Aaron's organization. Okay. Remember, your people are using it already. Go make it safe. If you'd like to try this in a safe place for your team, we have put AI shortcut activities into all 6 of these prospecting courses on the sales bar, factor8.com/better. And there's a promo code there as well. Go dip your toe in and try it in a good, safe place with the coaching and the framework. I know we left a lot of questions out there, but our whole goal was to introduce this to you and let you know what you need to learn more about. Our goal is that you will contact us for more help, ask more questions. We will book more of these if there's unanswered questions out there. Aaron, final word?
Thank you so much, LB. I learned a lot going through this as well, right? I think applying AI is the challenge, right? Doing it every single day. Love to hear more from you guys. Please shoot me an email, connect with me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron, for everything you've taught me, and everybody for joining us. We'll see you next time.